This fucking sucks. I am possibly dealing with a COVID-19 exposure because my uncle I have an uncle that's in the hospital right now. He's got medical issues. About 3 weeks ago, me and my mom took him to the hospital because he wasn't feeling well 3 weeks ago, and then he was there for 4 days. Then he was released. He was possibly somebody who was taking care of him at the hospital then for those 4 days he was there could have had COVID-19, and then he was exposed to it, and then he went home for 4 days for like a couple weeks, and then on Thursday, my uncle's caretaker, like basically live in home caretaker, basically she lives with him but she takes care of him basically called on Thursday. She called my mom on Thursday saying that basically my uncle Orville was constantly fatigued. He was sleeping a little bit too much, and then he was vomiting, and then was coughing and having like the diarrhea shit. And so she calls and says, so they called his doctor, and the doctor says, we'll take him to the hospital, get him in the emergency room, and then they can run a test. So eventually, my mom picked him up. I was at work. She dropped me off at work, and then she went to go get him. And my mom doesn't usually like driving on her own to the boonies because basically I'm better at directions than she is. But since I had to work that night, she had to go by herself, even though she didn't like to, but she had to. So she dropped me off at work. I was working 3 to 11 that night. Eventually, yesterday, my uncle calls and says that he tested positive for COVID-19. Now, because my mom was in the car and because my uncle has been too weak to drive, my mom was driving him. He sat in the back seat of the car. My mom sat in the front. He didn't cough in the car yesterday, but still, he sat in the back seat with no mask on, which most Trump supporters do. So eventually he called and said that he tested positive for the COVID-19. Now, if that's the case, he exposed my mom while he was in the car, and because I was riding in the car with my mom today to go pick up some stuff from his house to take to the hospital, now I've been exposed, and then also his living caretaker has possibly been exposed too. So eventually, and then my Uncle Alan's going to get exposed because my mom was exposed and so am I. So all three of us in the household are gonna be exposed. And then I have to work tomorrow, which kind of sucks. And I don't know if I have it yet. And the only way to know that would be to start showing symptoms. The only 2 symptoms I've showed so far has been a cough, which has kind of faded over time. Several bit if for my fans who have watched my videos a few weeks ago, you could tell how badly I was coughing, and now it's kind of faded in the last few days or so. So like I haven't been coughing as much. The only thing I still have is the headaches, freaking headaches and everything. And the 4 common things that you'll find when it comes to COVID-19, if you are positive for COVID-19, it would be diarrhea, coughing, headaches, and vomiting are the 4 main symptoms that you have to look for when you test positive for COVID-19. So I'm hoping I'm not positive for COVID-19 because then it'll put me out of work for 2 weeks, and I can't really afford to be losing any money right now. So I'm hoping that I don't test positive since I got to work tomorrow night. I'm hoping that when they take my temperature that it doesn't skyrocket or anything. Because a fever would be another thing that they would have to look out for too. But I just want to let my fans know that I've been possibly exposed and hopefully nothing bad happens out of this. But that's really about it there.